A disgraced former hospice and NHS chief who earned more than £1 million by lying his way into 3 top jobs is fighting an attempt to strip him of his assets. John Andrews, former chief executive of St Margaret's Hospice, in Taunton, says he is entitled to keep the large salary he was paid because he worked hard and gave value for money. Andrews, who is also a former Royal Cornwall NHS Trust chairman and social worker, talked his way into health service management after forging his CV to make it look as if he had an impressive string of degrees. He was jailed for 2 years at Exeter Crown Court in March 2017 and has now served his sentence and been released. Related, builder John Andrews, who lied on his CV to land chief executive role at St Margaret's Hospice, jailed. He is fighting an attempt under the Proceeds of Crime Act (POCA) to recover the money he earned under false pretenses. His legal team claimed that he did not derive any benefit from crime because he performed all his jobs well and was entitled to be paid for his work. They also say it would be disproportionate to strip him of assets which he built up while running the hospice in Taunton, a community care trust in Taunton, and the main hospital trust in Cornwall. The prosecution say it is in the public interest that he should be seen not to have profited from his deception. Ms. Rose Collins, defending, said Andrews had performed excellently in all the jobs he carried out and there had been no suggestion he was overpaid or did not earn his salary. She said his work had been of a very high standard, and it would be oppressive to consider his legitimate rewards as the proceeds of crime. She said, he paid back all the money he was paid by working. He only received payment for the work that he did. Mr. Cameron Brown, prosecuting, said, there was a conscious misrepresentation and there are public policy reasons why he should be deprived of his earnings. A judge at Exeter Crown Court will rule later this month on an application by Andrews to have the POCA proceedings thrown out. Recorder Mr. Martin Meek QC reserved judgment after a half-day hearing which centered on a series of previous cases, one of which went all the way to the European Court. The other cases, known as precedents or authorities by lawyers, mainly concerned illegal immigrants who earned wages while working unlawfully in Britain. A further case concerned a contractor who obtained work on the railways corruptly. Recorder Mr. Meek said, there is, as I see it, no specific authority in the situation which I am asked to deal with. There is a possibility that whatever decision I read, each one side or the other will want to appeal it. Andrews, 64, of Flood Street, Taunton, and formerly of High Street, Topsham, was jailed last year when he admitted deception and 2 counts of fraud. The judge in that case heard how he secured a string of senior jobs including the chairmanship of the Royal Cornwall Hospital Trust by making false claims about his background, experience, and academic achievements. He was paid more than £1 million over more than a decade after lying his way into a job as chief executive of St Margaret's Hospice in Taunton and using this as a springboard to become chairman of the Taunton Care Trust. St Margaret's Hospice, Bishop's Hill, Taunton. His lies were only exposed once he had moved on again to running the biggest NHS trust in Cornwall, where staff became suspicious and a check was made on his CV. It found a trail of falsified degrees and diplomas dating back to when he got his job at the hospice by claiming to have run a charity when in fact he was a humble youth worker. Andrews earned more than £100,000 a year in top jobs at the St Margaret's Hospice, the Taunton Care Trust, and the Royal Cornwall Hospital NHS Trust, where he worked until his fraud was unmasked in 2015. He styled himself as Dr. Andrews and falsified not only his educational qualifications but also his work experience with a series of charities. He claimed to have been managing director of a youth charity called Groundworks when in fact he had spent most of his career as a probation officer, customs officer or youth worker. His only formal qualification was a higher education certificate in social work from Bristol University. In a series of job applications, he provided CVs which claimed he had a PhD in leadership and success from Plymouth University, where he said he had written a thesis called Women in Power. He lied about having a master's in business administration from Edinburgh University and a degree from Bristol. He also claimed to have a diploma in advanced accountancy. Police were called in when questions were raised about his background when he was chairman of the Cornish Trust. His former home at Cristo was raided and the false CVs seized.